The the next thing I want to do is explain a little bit about my own play, or one of them, which is about a researcher escaping from the Fortress University because they've got a job in AI. There'll be some more about AI later on, but it's a way of. I know there's new listeners, and I don't want to repeat things indefinitely, but I'll just sum up how I've got to this point. It's just started thinking about the student accommodation in Exeter, and this is definitely going on and on about the same thing, but it does just strike me. The Echo today, page 5. There's a new plan for the police station and court, which is reduced in scale from what it was, but it's for 414 co-living units and 399 student accommodation units, just opposite St Luke's. And what strikes me about this is there's I don't think there's any discussion about what's happening with learning moving online or not moving online or hybrid or whatever it's going to be, and whether that means the student accommodation will be needed for a long enough period for these buildings to be viable. I know there's pressure at the moment, but we get lots of newspaper reports about the difficulties universities are in, but almost no discussion of how they're organised on a campus model with continuing investment in student accommodation without thinking about will the online aspect of it mean that a lot of the accommodation won't be required. So one of my plays is about just wandering about Exeter at different points in time, asking that same question and looking at the CD shops or vinyl shops or just places where music retail used to be, on the grounds that music over the last 20 years has changed massively in the amount of retail space required. So it's possible that a higher education will be on a different basis. So we've had the MOOC situation, and I think a lot of that is continuing, but the energy for that seems to be coming from vocational courses. The tech companies are offering their own certificates for people that they need for different jobs, and the AI, we don't really know how those operations are going to fit with learning in a more formal sort of way, but the students seem to be using AI much greater than is a formal part of the course. I might be wrong about that. We'll see how that works out. But anyway, in terms of dramas, there's the CD walk, but then there's also what used to be a siege of the Fortress University. Peter Horrocks explained the Fortress University in a lecture a while ago at Durham when he was Vice Chancellor of the Open University. But he had to resign because the support for Future Learn at that time wasn't really there. But this this new one, I have explained this before, but I'll say it again because it's definitely moving along. The Fortress University sort of continues, but the only way this is going to be resolved, I think, is if the people within it can have an alternative place to work, and that could be happening. So it's a positive kind of thing. The researchers whose ideas have been turned down about moving on to an online model and discontinuing investment in the fortress, they've decided to leave because an AA company has offered them a learning design job. This is fiction at the moment. I've no idea what the reality of that is. I think it might be happening to some extent, but what the scale is, I don't know. My idea of how you do a musical or how you do documental theatre is something I'm trying to study. I'm open to any suggestions about it. And by the way, I think there'll be another musical event in February or round about that time. But it's going to be a very positive musical number. Nothing depressing about it at all. Well, there'll be a lot of frustration in the early stages of it during the phase. Well, there'll be the siege, but then the way it all went back to normal when lockdown finished, the campus, in a lot of cases, sort of forgot about, I think, the possibilities of online learning, and the previous model came back again. But on this outline plot, it'll have a very upbeat ending to it. Looking forward to a new job. But of course, it might all become quite dark as well. I don't really know. I think the ambiguity's got to be in there, but a musical can cope with it, and maybe there's a sequel later on as to where it all went wrong. But that's the basis of it anyway. What I'm working on there. I think